And here we are, New Wave Academy boys making some noise. How are we doing? We've got Noah, Tommy, Dan. Look at that. I'm sure your audience cannot contain themselves. What is going on in the world, guys? Talk to me.
Not a lot. Not a lot, to be honest.
That's it for today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no. I just got back from IMAF. No,
Been there, got the t-shirt.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm getting ready for hopefully fighting in March.
So with the IMAF, who are you out supporting? That was one of your guys, Kenji?
Yeah, Kenny. Well, we call him Kenny.
Kenny Rugen, but Kenny, yeah.
We just call him Kenny because ain't no one saying Kenny Rugen when you're calling him.
It's too many syllables, man.
Yeah.
It's 4 syllables. It's too many. No
Yeah.
more than 2, like.
Yeah. Even Ken.
Sometimes Ken.
But yeah, no, we were out there because he was fighting. And then, yeah, I went out to help corner because Tommy couldn't make it. So I went out there, yeah.
So what was the preparation like for that? Because obviously the back-to-back fight, potentially like tournament structure versus a one-off fight is always a different sort of dynamic. How do you plan for that?
It's kind of like learning on the job, really, because I'd never done anything like that before. So it was just literally just about taking one day at a time. Because if you're looking too far ahead, you're looking past people, and then that's just stupid. So it's just about, obviously, there's no weight cutting or anything like that. So it's just about keeping him calm and relaxed, trying to reinforce to him that it's like there's no one really watching. It's not like there's a massive crowd here. It's just more of a relaxed environment. You can really shine in that.
I like the shin guards that are amateur.
Yeah.
I don't know about you
Oh,
guys,
they don't
but
do
after
nothing.
a fight, like it's just like your legs just take punishment.
The shin guards are like that thin though. They did nothing.
Oh yeah, they just have
They
to
did
show.
nothing. Yeah. It's just there for sponsorship purposes.
I think Jonas Grace, who fought for the Fight Star, he just won the Fight Star championship, the amateur one at welterweight. I think he only checked 2 kicks, but his leg blew up, man, like massively.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. So the shin guards, of course, I think they'd make a big difference, but yeah, fighters don't really check leg kicks like loads, man.
Yeah, and
Especially not in MMA, yeah.
No, especially obviously those leg breaks and stuff. It's
Just get your leg out of the way.
yeah, just move, take a step back.
I mean, what's interesting from like a sponsor point of view, like we're saying there, like MMA's still got that kind of brutal light and like the public sort of side of things, but you see the more padded up, everything else is more, I want to say marketable for like the mainstream, the Karens and everything, the ones who kick off about it. So have a couple of patches here and there, it gives it more of a business side of things. But again, from a efficiency, sparring with shin guards is a nightmare, trying to grapple with them.
Yeah.
You either have shin guards that are too thick, you can't grapple with them,
Yeah.
or too thin, they don't protect your legs.
Yeah,
So which one is it,
yeah.
Absolutely mental. And Mr. Professional Fighter undefeated, how are we feeling?
Yeah, good. I've been enjoying the week off. That was well needed. So
Has it sunk in yet?
yeah, it's sunk in after a few days. Like, I'm just glad to start this new part of my journey now. Like.
I mean, this is where it gets really interesting because your amateur career was just tough fights after tough
Yeah,
fights after tough fights.
a lot of ups and downs.
But that's it. It's just so much like hard to gauge where you're at as well because when you make progression in the gym, you're like, I'm the man. I'm doing all right. Against this level guys, and you're against someone else who's way more experienced for some reason. You feel ups and downs.
Like at the time, like when I was going through the losses and that, in a way, I'm kind of grateful because in the long term, I know it's gonna do me well. And all the fights I had for amateur were competitive. They're all solid opponents that I fought. So I know it's going to serve me well in the long run. And yeah.
One thing I want to ask though, in the locker room beforehand, before walking out for this pro fight,
Yeah.
did it feel any different?
No, I would say that I'd had the same anticipation that I've had for my previous fights. So I didn't really feel a difference in nerves or. Obviously there was I was aware, it's a different stage of my career, but I was ready,
You looked at it as well. When it came to the actual finish, it was really interesting was when you're in the mount, this is the pro versus amateur kind of difference. You're not just losing, you're not trying to just finish it there and then. You're trying to pin and trap, trying to keep your base, things like that, but you're not just defensively with it, you're proactive and aware. That composure, I think, is a huge difference. And that's got to be just trained over and over again, that kind of mentality.
Well, the way I approach my fights is like, if I'm in a position like that, I don't want to give them anything. So even if I'm in mount, and people usually just like rain down punches, but they still cover up. I want to do damage. So if I can pin an arm, I heard them in the corner like, oh, trap the arm. I just automatically done it because I drill it all the time in training, and I was just unloading punches, and I was like, oh, I can elbow now. And I stopped midway for an elbow, but didn't land clean, and I just went back punching, and it just matter of time really.
They feel nice, like punching in 4 ounce.
Yeah. I thought my knuckle hurted a bit for a couple hours after this. My index. Right.
With the elbows, I imagine it'd be quite a strange thing to throw in a fight because the range.
Yeah,
It's literally half of your arm length. So it's like, I'm in range, I'm also kind of not. And you think, I can elbow from him. Where are you? Where you got like, the knees as well to the head? Like, it's not quite reaching.
I couldn't quite get the angle on it. Like, it's more like my forearm landed, and then I was like,
Back
fuck
to
it.
punches.
Back to punches. So.
But that's it, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's just incredible. I'm so happy for us to say, like, when you
Thank
see
you.
someone through that side of their career where you're getting, like, the tough fights, like,
Yeah.
not quite, almost there, that little bit. Then you see your shining moment.
We were having this conversation in the car,
In the
innit?
car,
I was like, Noah's never had an easy fight. Like, not one. Even before he came to New Wave, he was 0-4. Every single fight was tough. Like, so I said, if anyone deserves to fight, like, with all due respect, like, can, it's Noah.
Yeah.
Like, he needed that, I feel like.
Yeah.
Just, like, especially entering his pro career, so I feel like that was a good way to start.
But this is where it's interesting for MMA versus boxing, because in boxing, they'll just feed you cans and bums.
And
like,
First,
so
like 15
long.
fights, like
15
20
But
fights.
it's almost
Yeah.
like not the wrong way of doing it. It doesn't really build the right case because you're meant to be tested and be pushed, and you work out like we're lifting weights. Okay, that's too heavy. That's too light. Okay, we work out where we're at.
Yeah.
If you start so soft, I'm lifting these 2 kilo dumbbells. I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's going on? You know what I mean? But then you just get this false sense of I'm this level, and you start questioning things. But no, gauging that, then you're starting to build up because now when you're pro, this record has more weight to it now. You can then, even when you're later down the line for coaching and like PTs, you know, this and O or this record and so on and so forth, it's got so much more leverage sort of thing. Tell me as well from a coaching point of view in your own training, how are you finding that sort of split?
I think I've taken a massive back step from the training side because I love giving like to these guys so much. Like seeing Noah come at 0-4, and I remember when he fought like Stefano, for example. I knew he was ready for pro then because he lost the first round, and I can't remember what instructions I gave him, but he adapted and changed, and just seeing that, I knew he's ready for pro now. Got guys like Hamza coming through, and there's a good core team of like maybe 7 fighters now, and I'm really like determined to have a pro team. So we've got 2. We've got Festus Oholu now as well, and even the preparation for like Mike and Deo. It's the first time I've had to do prep like that with such a high profile fight, a guy who's like so good in one area. And I told Festus, you're going to be very bored at the end of this camp, but there's no way he's going to choke you. You know, he won't be able to take you down at will, and we'll get the win, and he did. So I love it. I'm getting quite like obsessed with my goal of having this pro team, and I think we're probably 1 year away from having everyone at pro, like 6 or 7 guys there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You hear about Dan Hardy talking about his time away from the UFC after he finished fighting, and that kind of analysis and that studying and being so involved in the sport, but being retired or not retired, but not being as active, but so focused still. Is that fantastic kind of energy because you're so involved in it, but you're not too punchy. You can actually deliver that information as well.
Yeah, exactly. But you can also like, I think by not training because when you train, I feel for me, I always need to have a bit of ego, especially doing MMA. So by not feeling like an active fighter, really, I don't have any ego with it's all about them. And I do feel with a lot of coaches, they make it a bit about themselves. So taking a step back and making it all about them, and I think they benefit from me just making it about them and not having my own nonsense caught up in it, you know.
We keep it personal at that point. Otherwise, it becomes these sort of cookie cutter gyms where everyone's the same style,
Yes,
everyone's got the same takedown, the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
They let them have their own sort of creative sort of flow with it.
Yeah.
Now, regards of what you said there, regards Noah's thing from amateur to pro, that composure in the corner, is that one of your key sort of points for knowing when someone's ready for that transition? What's your criteria as such?
Yeah, I think the difference between pro and amateur is I think the pros they adapt if things don't go well. They know the adjustments they need to make mid-fight, and it's also they pull the trigger just that bit quicker. So for example, with Hamza's last fight, we were telling him on whenever you break from the clinch, you need to strike, and that's when he was getting caught. The guy's success was he'd break, and then the guy would throw, and we send Hamza like strike on the break, and we drill this in the gym all the time. All the time.
I've seen Tommy literally like it was in one one of the beginners classes. He literally screamed. It's like very rare you see Tommy screaming. Like, he's normally like he gets told he's too quiet. But he literally screamed, and these guys made him do 20 burpees. He's like, "You're fucking embarrassing."
Because they didn't.
It's one of your main philosophies. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's strike on the break. Because there's like you see like Daniel Cormier used it so well against John Jones and stuff. It's yeah, and you can always get like good. Some of your best shots are going to be there. And for example, the point I'm making though is because he didn't do that. He wasn't able to take that on board. I wouldn't say he's ready yet because he didn't make that adjustment. And that's what it is for me. Pulling the trigger that much quicker and then being able to make adjustments mid-fight.
Well, definitely. When it comes to like, the striking and the clinch, it's that sort of MMA blending style of things. It's something that people miss out on quite a lot when they do individual disciplines, because that's something only really, somewhat in other sports, mainly MMA, is when you're in that exchange, you feel that your wizard's coming out, you're in that little bit of the pocket still. People miss that fact. In clinching range is your jab range. It gets messy. That's where you get these shots, blending to set these takedowns up to defend them, all this sort of stuff. They create this sort of calculated chaos. The Gaethje is very good for that sort of thing, and you see loads of people create that intentional, unsettling thing. You'll have these false grips without any real connection to create these reactions. It's always just, it's horrible. It's horrendous.
It's like you get clean elbows off them, good knees. Like it's big opportunities in those positions, you know.
The biggest thing I think is the aggression from the outside looking in for spectators, for judges especially. You see they're throwing, they're always throwing, always landing, they're always looking aggressive. I mean, whether or not it's going to score, whether it's not going to do much damage, you're being proactive, and the person taking those shots is going to know. Even tag for tag, okay, now I'm down, I need to get my own back.
And it even messes people up from a psychological point as well. If you often people use a disengagement from a clinch as a reset. So often you see this so much, like people clinching, they separate, and then they both have like a little half beat before they engage again. If you crack someone on the exit of a clinch, you've now disrupted their disengagement, and now you've now got momentum on them. So I think psychologically it plays such a big factor into fights.
But like you're saying there, those sort of unsaid rest points, like take someone down, a bit of a scramble, you're back to your feet, you can't just pretend you're fainting, but you just just like dying a little bit inside. It's like, okay, if you put that pressure back on, you know they're fucked as well. You can't just gauge it. And it's always a bit of a, you got to remember they're more tired than you are, or should be, hopefully.
The thing is, everyone's tired when you're in there. It's just about how much you can push through it, isn't it?
How much you show.
Everyone's
tired. I'm sure every cornerman is like between the second and third round. He's tired. Everyone say he's tired. He's tired.
That bitch, you're tired as
well. You know what I mean. Everyone's saying it. He's tired. They're saying he's tired.
I think that's another thing to be aware of as well. Like transitioning from amateur to pro is like the duration of the rounds. Like, okay, it's like only 2 minutes longer, but it's a lot. Like 5 minutes, it's a long time.
It's almost another round.
Like, or by the time you've done 2 rounds at pro, you've done more than 3 rounds at amateur.
Back to back as well, without the round break in between. And this is something that people don't quite appreciate, is the pacing of it, which is so ambiguous. You see like kickboxing where it's just back to back, like minute, 2 minute rounds.
2 minutes.
Just blowing your load. You get boxing like 2 minutes, like 12 rounds, like steady, building up. Muay Thai especially, where it's paced up, building up. MMA is either everything or nothing, and there's somewhere in between you find that sweet spot. And like with the rounds at the gym, I imagine you guys are doing, you're doing 5 minute rounds just normally. Like what are those rounds like? Is it going to be an absolute sprint? I mean, you know you've got 5 or 6, it's going to be a long day.
But you also know in the gym, right, if you're really tired, you can take the next round off potentially and stuff like that. You know, I think cage size is a big one. Have you ever been inside a UFC size cage? It's massive. It's huge. Then you come back to like these cages on these local shows. It's tiny, and it does suit the grappler. You know, it always suits. When you get to the bigger cage, it's gonna make a big difference. You know.
Less distance to cover.
Yeah.
Well, it changes the sort of strategy. So again, if you're very much cage orientated, you have to find a way of using the open space to create those opportunities. Because to an extent, if you keep pushing back far enough, they hit the wall. But when you got 5+ meters to cover, they're only going to run back for so long, especially at pro level. Like,
no, they're going to know to circle. It's much harder to do.
Taking out in the open and keeping them down is just another sort of challenge anyway.
Yeah.
I think in amateur, you start developing a style, and you need to find a way of applying that. Because again, if your amateur style is all cage-based takedowns, again, in pro, more than capable of working, but it's understanding that distance and that pacing and that timing. And again, this is where, like yourself, used to 3 minute rounds, that kind of pace to first one at 5. Now what? Are you thinking there's 15 minutes in this? Are you thinking, okay, let's get it done sharpish? What are you thinking? You know, I mean, how were you even thinking about pacing it when you even started going out that round?
Like, Well, for me, I feel like the rounds, they suit me better for my style than it did for amateur.
No, definitely.
Because like I feel as well like towards and then the end of like the first round, for example, I'd really find my pace and I'm able to go all day. I'm confident to go 3 5s like all day. Like even my last amateur fight, I think you were there, the for the title. Like the 5 rounds, I felt fine. Like, I wasn't gassed at all. You know.
That sort of composure, that's what always astounds me. Because all the fights I've had, the adrenaline dump is horrendous.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not even
comes
cardio,
with
it's just
time.
lead. It's like,
Yeah.
God, how would you even prepare for that kind of thing? And that's something in different stages of your careers, different positions, managing these emotions, managing the individual fighters' needs, schedules, and these kind of things. Like, one question I'm going to ask you guys, strength and conditioning. So, obviously, sport-specific stuff where it's like just more and more rounds. But the wear and tear, the damage risk there, weights, time versus what you're doing, what you're not doing. Where do you guys sort of how you rules them? Dan, what start with you for strength and conditioning for MMA? What's your like philosophy on that side?
I pretty much the last like 6 months. Before the last 6 months, I've been working with this guy called Marlon Anthony, who I've known him for about 6 years, but he's probably the most intelligent guy I know when it comes to the human body, how it works, and in terms of getting the most out of it. Before I started working with him, I thought I had an idea of, I know my stuff when it comes to strength and conditioning. Like I can get myself in shape. I can get the most. No. I was so injury prone. Like Tommy will tell you. Like me and Tommy, we're called like the
Glass.
We're made of glass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like since I've been working with him, touch wood, the last 6 months I've not had a single major injury. I've had like a hyperextended elbow. I think that's it.
That kind of happen.
Yeah, like that's it. And I feel like I'd push way harder now. So I pretty much just leave it in his hands. Like. It's all science-based. Nothing's left to guesswork. Nutrition, I feel like, is a massive part as well. Because I feel like if you're doing all the right stuff for strength and conditioning, but your nutrition is dog water, like, do you know what I mean? It's not going to balance out. You're gonna get injured, or you're not getting the most out of it. Again, same thing. If your nutrition's on point, if your nutrition's on point, but then your strength and conditioning is just very like half-assed. Again, you're not really getting the most out of it. So when I feel like they're both firing together. And it also depends on your style. Like, for example, mine and Noah's styles, they're chalk and cheese. Like, he's more of like a grinder, wears you down. I'm more like explosive. So our strength and conditioning would be completely different. It's pointless him doing loads of like plyometrics and box jumps and those kind of things, and medicine ball slams and things like that, because it doesn't complement his style. Do you know what I mean? For him, he would probably do more like isometric holds. Yeah. Whereas I would do more plyometrics.
So you're sort of doubling down on your strength instead of building with you.
Of course you work on your weaknesses as well, because you have to have a way around it. But in terms of like
Priorities.
getting the most out of your style, I feel like you have to aid it in that sense.
Regards of like output and like effort wise, so like RP for example. Like, say if you're doing your strength conditioning, say 3-4 times a week, twice a week, what sort of how often?
I do 3 times a week.
And what's the reference for RP? Sort of 1 being like nothing until 10 being like you flat out red line sort of thing.
It depends, because it depends how far you're away from the fight. And again, I leave it all down to Marlon. So whatever he has it in phases. So the first 2 phases are all about building strength, and then after that it's about taking the strength and turning it into power by adding acceleration. And then I think it's the last week or the last 2 weeks, it's all about we're now dropping pretty much the weights, and it's all just about explosive plyometrics and then isometric holds as well. So the muscles are still firing with loads. So we did loads of things like he would load a stupid amount of weight on a deadlift. So I can't pick it off the ground, but I'm still driving fully for like 10 seconds. So the muscles are engaging, but they're not getting the load. So you're not getting the
wear and stuff.
The wear and tear, exactly. So we did loads of that accompanied with like bodyweight plyometrics. That's what I found to work for me so far.
No, it's interesting. So the reason I'm sort of going through this, and go through you guys as well with this sort of thing, is more just priority, actual influence on your actual game, and the way it sort of not interferes, but blends in with your actual normal specific skill training. Because this is something where falling in the trap of going so hard on the fitness side of it, you think that's going to take away the sports-specific condition. You think, oh, I've got do miles, do sprints, they do rounds. No, different.
Yeah, completely different.
Different gravy. What about you, Tommy? What's your sort of thoughts on strength and conditioning?
I don't like guys running. I think it's really bad for your knees. I think it's just bad for your body doing road running. I've never been a fan of it. So I think guys get most of their like cardio based stuff from their rounds. Like do loads of like like BJJ rounds, loads of wrestling rounds, I think you're not going to get better cardio than a wrestling session. Like you're not, even if you're fit and then you do wrestling, it's still going to be tiring. If you haven't wrestled and you're fit from jiu-jitsu, I just don't think you'll be fit enough for wrestling. So for me, I think with cardio, always do rounds, and I'm a big fan of like compound lifting, and that's just more based on how I am as an athlete. Anyway, I'm quite explosive, and I'd always gas in the third round. That third round's always a problem. But
talk about the third one, that's all right.
Yeah.
We go on the fight, only 2 rounds, all right.
Yeah, but it's So me, I'm a big fan of just compound lifting, build your strength up, and I'd say 3 times a week, and get all your cardio from your rounds, and because you'll grow much more from doing rounds. Anyway, I'm a big fan of just getting loads of rounds in.
With your compounds, you're doing like a powerlifting style thing where it's like heavy and like low rounds.
Yeah, big fan of like clean and press, cleans, deadlift.
Okay, my Olympic styles as well.
Yeah.
That's right. What what sort of things have you found work?
So like the past 8 weeks, I'd say 7 months, I started doing compound lifting like twice a week, and then I would do endurance lifting. So it's my own. Don't have a strength and conditioning coach yet, but that's something I'm looking to do.
That's everyone. So everyone can get involved. You just
beat me to it.
So it's what I need to get to that high level. But that's the last several months, really, just twice a week of compound lifting, endurance-based exercises, and then with the cardio, I would do running like twice a week, but on top of that, I'd be doing hill sprints and swimming as well. So just like different types of cardio, just to mix it up a bit, because I think running, like if you just do running for cardio, I don't know, it's just it doesn't really push your
different systems sort of thing.
I think it's so old school.
Yeah,
I think that's more than anything. And you'll see it like old school fighters used to do it because they didn't really know any better. It's just like, how do I get my lungs to work? Oh, fuck it, let me run.
Yeah, every training is a long run.
Yeah.
You're sparring, trying to knock each other out. You're allowed to have shag until after you fight.
Yeah.
It's like the worst kind of fight.
Yeah.
That's real sacrifice.
Yeah.
Everything's horrible and miserable.
Yeah, like even cutting weight is just sauna suit on, run, or sit in the sauna.
just
It's
salads
like-
and vegetables.
it's
It's high impact for your knees as well. Like when you take everything into account, wrestling, all the training you do is sparring. It's hard on your
Your
body.
knees don't need any more damage.
hell no.
They don't need it.
That's why like half of the game these days has dodgy knees.
Yeah.
It's because of that
Kamara
old school.
Usman,
method.
like welterweight pound number 1.
He doesn't run.
He can't walk on concrete.
Yeah.
He walks on grass.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
word.
his knees are
Yeah.
He
finished.
can't walk down the stairs properly. He's pound number 1. Do you really want to be that? You can't- This is kind of the point, though. And where it comes very interesting, sort of touched on there, is now you're pro.
Yeah.
You're training at amateur, you're training at pro now. What is the difference there? Do you fix what isn't broken? Do you make changes? Do you add these things? What do you think of that?
Well, I think really I just need a specific strength conditioning coach is what will really take me forward, But even back in amateur, I always had a professional approach to my training. Like I'd always train 6 days a week leading up to fights, 2 to 3 times a day during the weekdays, and I would choose to work part-time so that it wouldn't interfere with my training. So I haven't really had to make any more sacrifices because I made those during amateur. So that's it really going forward.
From a coaching point of view, regards of a pro's training schedule versus an amateur's, and I say schedule very importantly, how would you change that around? Would you go more specific? I say with Mike and Dale,
Yes.
where it's like game planning sessions, things like that. Do you reckon those are still relevant, or is that not the highlight?
I think I treat them all. I game plan for all of them. It's not like just because it's a amateur, I'm gonna give you less time, and we're not going to strategize. There's always a strategy for me. So for me, I always take a professional approach with all of them. Like with Mike fight, for example. Like Jonas had a fight as well. We're strategizing for that guy because he fought Sife. I can't remember the guy's surname, but he was 6-0, I think. So we needed a strategy for that. We knew it was 5 rounds. I know Jonas grows into the fight, so we planned for that. We planned for different rounds. It's the same with Festus and Mike. We planned for different rounds. I knew we might lose the first one, but I said I know you can finish him at any point or something. So there, I guess generally there would be a difference, but for me there's not, because I expect people to be training twice a day if you want this. Because for me, I think if you're fighting amateur, you're fighting amateur to fight pro, right?
Yeah, it's practice.
Yeah, and so
Apprenticeship.
you should be training twice a day, in my opinion. You should be doing your morning sessions and your evening sessions.
And the thing is, the level of amateurs nowadays is
It's
like
high.
It's so
It's
high.
like-
It's not like how it used to be.
No.
where it's
Professional
like,
amateurs now.
I think
it's
that amateurs would be. There's some UFC guys 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I think, you know. So
the level's crazy.
the level's really high. I see some things in fights. I don't get how the guy did it sometimes. You know, the level's amazing. I love it. I think UK MMA has come such a long way. MMA in general has. I like how everything's just blended now. You're seeing less of guys. Oh, it's a boxer versus.
Like a grappler kind of
Yeah,
thing,
you're not
yeah.
getting that. It's just full MMA now.
full
People
MMA.
are good everywhere. You have to be prepared everywhere.
I think evolution, a lot of it is people starting with MMA. They're not
Yeah.
starting with anything else. And again, it becomes the standard. We used to be known for, we're the UK, we can't wrestle, so on and so forth. But no, it's Arnold Allen, all these other high-level wrestlers. No, man, you know what I mean? The big guys. Big dogs.
Yeah.
It's all them ones. And it becomes this sort of thing where we're learning from grassroots the do's and don'ts. These mistakes people made time and time again have been not fizzled out, but they've already been thought of or been taken into account of.
Do you coach children?
Yeah. Kids and
You see some of the kids now, like the way they can blend their boxing into their takedowns and go straight into their jiu-jitsu stuff, and even they get the ground and pound to the body. They're so sharp with it now.
Some kids are very they take the movements very naturally.
Yes.
It's quite strange. Like say
Yeah.
you're teaching kids to do a double leg shoot. Oh my god, it is interesting. Some just wrestlers just spiking the knees in the floor. Like,
Yeah.
it's painful.
Don't start that
It's
early.
painful.
You know what I mean? Boom.
Oh, stop.
Like, bro, please, cockers always don't need that right now. Ain't gonna need that.
Well, that's the thing. Like with kids, they're literally like sponges.
Yeah.
Every kid is a sponge. Like it just depends on how much of a sponge they are. So it's so important to teach kids correctly. It's like you can really tell the difference when a kid is taught correctly and when a kid isn't. It's like the kids in our program now. Like we were having this conversation on the way here. Like their level is insane. Like I'm seeing scrambles between these two kids, literally like this big, and I started giving them a round of applause like mid-round. I lost my mind. It's insane the level now.
Now, when you're coaching kids, would you go on more specifics of techniques like we with adults, or just a position and let you be creative? Where would you kind of prioritize that?
So when I coached the MMA program, I got this structure from Tommy. Is I'd do it over like a 4-week patch, like 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the concept. And I used to teach when I was teaching the MMA. I was trying to stick with the theme, but I'd kind of teach it, just trying to round their game off. But since I started teaching like this, I'd spent 4 weeks on a double leg. I spent 4 weeks on a single leg. I spent 4 weeks on mount, 4 weeks on back attack, 4 weeks on clinch. We're just moving on to wall work now. I said to them, we're spending 8 weeks on this because it's a concept they've not dealt with before. Their level has just gone through the roof because they're able to. It's not so scatty for them. They know exactly what they're doing, and you can see from when you start it to when you finish it, the progression between like how they leveled up from point A to point B, and everything between.
I think when you teach things as a concept, you really get them to grasp the concept, the basics of the concept, and then there is room for them to play around with that concept because it's a concept and not just a move. You have the base of the concept, which are the moves, but because it's a concept, as long as they're working within that concept, they get to have their own area of expression. And that's how I teach these guys. I teach everything's concept based. So even if, for example, we're talking about striking off the clinch, I'm not telling you what to throw. You're gonna do that. Kenny's more likely to throw a kick. Noah's more likely to throw a jab and go back into a double leg. You know, Dan's more likely to throw a 1-2 and then back off. So you don't have to throw. I'm not gonna say it has to be.
Yeah. But here's like the canvas. You do what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And where it's tricky when it comes to kids is like you can tell the ones who want to be there.
Yeah, 100%.
And the ones like, you're too soft, go. Like,
Yeah,
fight.
exactly.
It's like,
Yeah, you
I
can.
don't want to be there.
You
I don't
can.
want you here. You're not paying attention.
Kids are characters as well, man. You get some mad characters.
Remember Galleon though?
Oh,
do you remember his first session? There's one kid. His first session, I was like, you look at him, you think it's going to be impossible. He would get frustrated, and he'd just just flop down and let's lay there, and you wouldn't be able to move him. If you throw like a jab, he'd throw 10 punches, and there'd be windmills.
Yeah.
Just. But now,
But it even get crazier than that. Like as soon as he faced a little bit of adversity, he'd start crying. There was times where like you'd be like talking and demonstrating, he'd just walk up to someone and bang him in the face.
Yeah.
He was like a bit of a lost cause. And I remember we had a meeting about potentially like what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
But you look at him now,
he's amazing.
he's incredible. And he's one of the most loved kids in the gym. Like,
he's really good.
He's incredible. It's a true like testament to like how you can just flip it around.
I love seeing what this sport does for adults and children, just on for their characters. We're talking about Noah's character development. Like I remember like when he was 0-4 and he came in, he was like he wasn't not the most confident of people, very quiet, very shy, and then. As he's grown and matured, he's much more vocal. I've seen like people are near him on the mats. He's like, "Oh, guys, move!" You know, and he needs to be confident to tell people to move in that way as well. And it's the same with the kids as well. You see them like just grow, and you get the ones who are quite arrogant, become more humble. The ones that are very shy become they become more confident. I love it. You know,
it's a good platform for it. And again, like, when it comes to when you're a bit older, like taking a few knocks, like, I'm not made of glass. It's all right, look how firm it, but balance now. It's actually all right. No, it's fine. And like same with same when he was like 0-4, that kind of thing. When you're off to a losing start, you're already like, is this even for me? Is what I'm doing? Am I even confident in my own abilities now? When things start coming together a bit more, now I've got this. I had that success there. This actually was working now. I can actually have confidence in what I'm saying now. And then things start making more sense. Because if you're preaching something and you're not delivering on it, even you're going to be like, something's not quite adding up. And you start fixing this puzzle. And then when you start coaching off of that kind of experience, like my career so far hasn't been fantastic. I'd say 1-3 so far, tough fights. But again, it's like I know when I speak to people who come off an early loss, that level of empathy of it's not a bigger deal. You've seen the clip with Cowboy in like an amateur fight, and he's like so upset. He's like, how do you think it feels getting knocked out in front of everyone, like millions of people, getting shouldered by McGregor, and everyone's laughing, making memes out of you? It's calm.
I saw your last fight. I watched it on YouTube on Battle Arena, and like I think even though it wasn't the result you wanted, it was a good competitive fight, and I feel like you could really build off from it. Like, and those are the sort of fights you want for amateur. Like, may not go your way, but there are fights that are well matched, and you can build up from. And you have a great team as well.
Thank you.
So you're going in the right direction. Okay. And I've been there with the rocky start, but when I moved to New Wave, like gave the whole effort, both ways, and I've just been able to make a whole turnaround really.
I think it says a lot about your mentality to be 0-4 and not quit. But I think I'm gonna change something. I think it is like a winner's mentality to think I'm 0-4. You could quit, but it's like I'm gonna change something. And you did change, and it paid off in dividends,
Well, there's one point before I made that step, like to move, I was like, look, you can either just quit now, be 0-4, and just feel shit about it, or you can just give this like another shot, go to this team, to New Wave. They're all got some really good guys there, great coaching, and I was like, give it a go. And I'm glad I did.
So I always say to people, is like, whenever I talk about Noah, I'm like, the amount of people that start MMA and then they lose their first fight and they're like, yeah, I'm out. You lose 2 fights, your first 2 fights, yeah, you're definitely done. 3 fights, I think Noah's like, I wouldn't even say a 1%, I would say like a 0.1% of
definitely.
human beings.
Now, you got to think, like, percentage of people in even the UK alone who know what MMA is, who then train MMA, who then compete in MMA, who then actually come back after having their first fight in MMA. Again, it's like so fractured.
Exactly.
Because we know the community, it feels like so many people really isn't.
To lose your first 4 fights, I don't think people deep how mad they
are. And then to turn it around. I got really emotional
Yeah,
on his
I'm getting emotional.
on his pro debut. I had to
Tommy
leave the
cried.
room.
Tommy cried.
I think I was talking to him.
why you
Tommy
left.
cried.
You know, I was giving him a pep
He
talk.
better than other guys. Like,
I was giving him a pep talk, but as I was giving it to him, I was just seeing the whole journey. Because I remember his first time at the gym. He's like, I was still active. He came and I knew he fought. So I really gave him a hard time. But just being with him through the whole journey, and we've done that walk so many times. And then to him being a pro debut, it's really profound for me. And just knowing everything he's had to go through to get there, and just what it took. He didn't have a easy fight, not one easy fight on the way up, and he walked through every challenge. Even his fight against Stefano, he took on short notice at a higher weight class against a good guy, and he only lost because he jumped guillotine in the third round.
I don't know why I done that.
You know?
even that, like, if that's the biggest problem in a fight against that kind of
Yeah.
opponent, like,
No, and then he come up, he's 10 seconds, I was like, just go, and he's just throwing shots. 10 more seconds, he rocked him.
He rocked him as well.
And so we've just been on this whole journey. It's been,
I say something a lot.
cool.
I use a hashtag. I say Tommy for president. Tommy for president. Can we get it on the screen? Get it trending.
like New Wave Gary V sort of thing.
But the thing is, with anyone you're coaching, you're on there. You're like a passenger. I'm on. When I'm coaching you, it's your journey. It's not mine. I'm just a passenger, and you get to see everything. It's never smooth. There's so many detours, and you're just with them every step of the way. And it's just his journey's been incredible. His is cool, and there's loads of journey. Everyone's story. I know everyone's backstory. Even like Dan, I hope he started off like he got bullied in school, right, and stuff like that. But then what does it take for someone to be a victim of bullying to then turn yourself into a fighter, to someone who, if he was this person now, would not be bullied at all? Very confident, very good with the banter, very quick with it, and physically very able to defend himself. It says a lot about him. But then to know that backstory, and then you're with him, helping him prepare for a fight, it all plays into it. All their story and who they are plays into it. And I know these guys, so it's always a very emotional thing for me, and I always have to keep it down. But that time, it was very, I couldn't,
But that's the thing, though. Those are the moments that are so important, because this sport is fucking miserable.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like, we love it to pieces, but it is miserable. You're taking a couple of shots, you're getting subbed by people who aren't as good as you. You're like, you know what? But now what's going on?
And every fighter's asked themselves, at least once, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, you're backstage, you're warming up, and then it's the cool down, but you're like, why the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
You're
you're next. It's like, okay. Fuck, I wish I wasn't.
You get that moment when you're actually in the cage,
Yeah.
and you're in, and you're like, it feels a bit strange.
It's mad.
You're like, what am I doing? Yeah, and then you're like,
This is me.
and then you just switch on.
Yeah.
Everything goes quiet, but there is that brief second, you realise how insane it is what you're about to do when that cage door shuts.
Nuts. And then imagine that on the highest level. Sorry, but imagine that on the highest level in front of millions of people. Like, because the people that have openly spoke about nerves are like people like GSP and Cowboy. Those are the two most known ones. Imagine what they're feeling, because they're like really present and honest with themselves. They feel that, but then they're looking out. Like thousands of people in the crowd. They're aware millions of people are around the world. He's looking across the cage against flipping Conor McGregor. The whole crowd's like screaming. He must be thinking, oh my goodness.
But it's the aftermath as well. Like, after you lose that kind of fight, what could happen? Like, if we lose a fight, it's like, might put a few MMA pages, that might be about it. But they're like, everywhere.
Stay off the internet for a while.
Honestly, what was that guy? He fought on Cage Warriors Southeast, and he was trying to do the Michael Page stuff.
That, yeah.
Or was it BC
Oh,
MMA?
that one. Yeah, that kind of
head kick knockout.
We won't name him just for sake of well-being.
I've just remembered his name, but I won't.
Right.
But yeah, he went viral, man.
That kind of thing. That's what I mean, though. When it comes to these situations, you do think going in there, what if I end up on these kind of things? I end up on someone's highlight reel. And but we're saying about 0-4 when it comes to you're at this point. It's like if I just called it here, what else could be? And then again, like the same when we start negative records, it comes to do I end up becoming this journeyman? Where does my career go? Because you want to give yourself that confidence that I'm better than this, better than my record. Again, records are arbitrary.
Yeah.
Like jiu-jitsu competitions, you don't have a record. You just show up, you roll, go home, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But thinking, oh no, this guy is like 24 and 17. Is like, what? No one even knows that. No one gives a shit. Unless you're
That's a good point.
Unless
yeah.
you're an only jiu-jitsu guy and you get to count your jiu-jitsu matches.
Yeah.
Or you're Hickson Gracie and count your street fights and your rolls to the 400 and 0. I had someone talk about it. So 400 and 0 is his record. He's like, apparently counts the sparring rounds. He counts everything. How funny is that?
Like Pele, counting his goals.
Yeah.
It's one of them ones. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, one thing we were saying about these sort of fight experiences. My friend Stan has the best thing for it. It was when you're fighting, you're watching your own movie. Because it's like autopilot. You're just kind of there.
Yeah.
It's so
That's
weird.
a good way of describing it.
That is.
It's such an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
It's intense. But, man. So many things to get into. One thing I'm just conscious about is time and everything else. But one thing is like, from a coaching point of view, from your own experiences, what advice would you give to yourself if you were about to walk out? I'll go with you first.
One of the main things I always say is, two things I always say to people is, first thing is, no one's forced you to be here. No, like, you don't have to be here. No one's put a gun to your head and said, listen, you've got to go out there. You're here because you want to be here. And immediately, I feel like that takes some pressure off because it's like, you're right. Like, I'm here because I want to be here. And the second thing is go out and have fun, express yourself. Because, like, the minute you have fun and you relax, that's when you show the best version of yourself. So those are, like, the two things I say. And everything else is based on how they are, like, psychologically in their head and stuff like that, where their mental space is at. And then everything else is based on the fight. So those are the two main things I'd like to say.
One thing I want to go into before we go into that, it's so funny what you just said there about no one's making you be here. It's the opposite. They're trying to stop you getting there.
Yeah.
They make it no money. They make it really hard. They make it awkward times. You're always really tired. You have to lose weight. Everything to not do it.
It's
When
horrible.
you get to that point, it's like, oh, no wonder I don't feel like I want to do it. It's really, really, really hard. It sucks.
But we still do it.
We
still do it.
I'm in this sports hall in the middle of nowhere in my short shorts, ready to get in a fight for some reason. I don't know why.
For no reason.
Literally.
For literally no reason.
For experience.
Yeah.
Shoot to you.
I'd probably tune like how I felt the last time I fought was amazing. It was like I'd got to that point where it was like embrace the nerves. So you feel nervous all the time, and I think the first time you feel it, you reject it. Before you fought before, and the first time you fight, you reject the nerves. Second time you try and reject them. I really just wore them like a suit of armor, like a cloak. Like I really embraced them. Whenever I felt nervous, I would be shadow boxing. I'd have music on. I'd just embrace the nerves and accept them. So that's one thing I always say to the fighters now is accept the nerves, embrace them. That it's normal, and you need to feel it. Because you perform really well with nerves, I think, depending on how you've used them. And then, have fun. It's the last thing I always say to these guys. Have fun, express yourself, always. And I know that the last time I fought, I'd embraced the nerves, and I was looking to enjoy the fight. I was really looking, and it was sick. I loved that fight. It was fun.
But that's the thing. It is fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard to remember it when it's really tough. It's like, this is actually sick.
No, I haven't felt anything better. It's the best high. And I could just imagine that as you keep scaling up, the high is higher and higher. You do get that post-fight depression a couple of days after.
Yeah.
But, like, it's such a... it's an amazing... You're, like, floating. You're above everything else.
Like
There's nothing. You're so present in the moment, you know?
If you want to talk about post-fight depression, after a fight when you have, like, junk food and it's shit,
Yeah.
that is the worst.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm craving this chocolate. It's like,
stop.
let's fill a bit. It's a bit grim. You're like, where's the chicken and salad and the rest of it?
I think for me it's that point where like you've been, like after you fight and it's been a good fight, loads of people talk to you, the fight was sick, what's your name, who are you? People chatting to you, you go to the gym, everyone, and then
well done.
Then you
Soaking
go,
in the well done, yeah,
you go to the shop, like, and it's like, it's £2, please. And it's just a normal, you realise, I was a normal guy.
Yes, no one
knew what I was doing last night.
Literally, whenever we fight in Birmingham in the Edge Bastion at Cricket Ground in Birmingham, there's like an Audi next door, and the point I make to myself and anyone fighting is, you could be a world champion in here, and 2 minutes later, you go down there and be like, who are you? What's going on? The whole big world of this sport, this fight, is everything. I don't know about you guys. When you get a fight, but it's like, shit, I'm marching orders. After this, I can't book anything around. It's the only thing in my world. It's the biggest thing. It's like, I've got a fight soon.
Yeah.
No one cares.
No one gives a shit. Most people wouldn't try and sell tickets.
That's when you find out who your friends are.
Yeah. Always on fight. Oh, I get
When you
ticket
wait-
day before the fight. Oh, can I get?
Can I watch it? What time are you on? 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 It's like,
Oh,
I can
man.
find out. Get them. Wait.
That's the thing I hate the most, right? Is this tickets, like
It's the
trying to
worst
sort
part.
it all out. You know, it's just want to concentrate, cutting this weight. You know,
What about, your advice for like yourself walking out? What sort of thing would you always say to yourself before you're getting?
pretty much the same as what Tommy was saying. Really, just it's an opportunity to express yourself like through fighting. Because I don't think there's anything more honest than fighting. To be honest, like, and that's what I love about it as well. Is just you can't really hide anything in there. Like all the work you've put in, the preparation, anything you're holding back, it's going to show itself in there. So yeah, just express yourself when you go in there, and let it all flow. Don't hold anything back.
I think something you said there about the expression of it, the art of it.
Yeah.
Something like, again, I don't know about you guys, but saying like martial artist sort of thing, I find it a bit pretentious. But like what it actually is that kind of expression. Like the style is like you said there about when it comes to striking out the clinch, it's not specifics. It's your way of doing it, your reasoning, your application, your energy. And I said embracing the nerves. Like, that was a huge thing for my last one. It was so much fun, and it wasn't trying to resist. It wasn't like let's try and relax, try and be calm. Just have fun with it. Especially with the last one, I was like a last minute replacement, different way. It's like, fuck it, I'll go in a fight regardless. Literally, way above us, like, let's just have a fight. I give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, didn't get the result, but I didn't care.
But did you find because it was last minute, there's less pressure on yourself?
Yeah, but the whole thing was just like prepared for anything and back prepared for like anyone could pull out any moment. The whole thing is more just it's amateur.
Yeah.
It's a fight. It's just fun. Like that's it though, because when you put the weight of the world on your shoulders, like, oh, I've got a negative record on the worst thing. I should give up.
That doesn't matter, man.
Literally, it's just fun.
Like amateur's like a testing ground. Like I say to people, you should be. I know this is going to sound controversial, but I feel like you should be actively looking to lose at amateur because that's when you know you're taking the right fights. If you're looking to win every fight, like there's certain gyms, not saying any gyms, but like they actively look for wins. I think we all know who we're talking about here. they're actively looking for wins and they pad their records, and I don't understand that amateur.
Yeah,
as seen on Only Cans.
Side
note for everyone, I'm not Only Cans.
Only
I've been
cans.
accused of being Only Cans a few times. I'm not. That's too nasty. He's doing God's work. That's not me.
I feel like you should be looking to lose. Like again, it sounds stupid and controversial when you hear it on this, but if you look into the what I'm saying, you should be looking for tests.
Well, 100%. This is sort of the point. The idea is like an open mat in like jiu-jitsu, for example. You roll with the same guys all the time. Here's my game. You know what I do, so on and so forth. But you roll with someone else from another gym. Like prime example, we were meant to have matches at Nova. I ended up getting like a flu, whatever it was. But that sort of thing. It's just okay. We just show up, we roll, see what happens, and go home. Just get on with it. Because it's MMA. It's like, oh no, it's deeper than that. So but you do it all the time anyway. It's a difference. It's not personal. But there's so much going on anyway. Before we wrap up, regards to like shout outs and people anyway. So sponsors, you guys. Not sure who's got sponsored by who or anyone you want to shout out, gyms and sort of thing.
No,
Obviously New Wave, big up.
no sponsor. Yeah. But again, Tommy for president. But the only person I really want to shout is, as I said, like I say he's like my everything guy. He's like he looks after my strength and conditioning, my nutrition, my physio, my rehab, everything. As I said, since I've been with him, I've not had a single injury. So just Marlon Anthony, look him up. Those of you people in the gym that have seen me work with him, like they've seen like I'm the most injury prone guy ever. Not a single injury in the last 6 months. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, mine would just be the guys, the fighters at the gym. Just keep showing up, keep working hard. Christian and Colin for giving me the opportunity to coach these guys, because like if you look at, I wouldn't have a CV without them. I would have come to another gym. Oh, can I coach? I'd be like, well, who are you?
Yeah.
But I've been able to build a solid reputation through these guys, and now I feel very, very trusted, and it's cool. It's been a very good canvas to work with. So shout out to the fighters for putting in the work, and Christian and Colin.
I'll quickly piggyback off that. Is special mention to Tommy as well, because without him, he took me under his wing basically. He took me under his wing, literally showed me everything I know about coaching, and allowed me to build a platform and become a coach myself. So
I'm getting emotional.
don't cry.
Side note, Dan was the one who suggested getting Tommy and making this podcast a thing, so he's
Tommy for president.
Thank you.
and Noah, and he's sort of sponsored you on the shout or anyone.
Yeah, I just want to shout out Mauler.
Big up Fred.
Mauler,
Yeah.
you were in it as well.
That's it, my man, Fred.
Yeah.
So Fred sponsored the podcast early. He's always been supportive of everyone, and like his pricing is too cheap. He's too nice for everyone. Makes sure things are affordable. A good guy, Fred. Make sure someone actually supports him. Get some like orders in. Take all the stock out. Anything, just support him. I think he's top one.
Yeah, top quality. Like the gloves as well. They've lost ages. Like for sparring all the time, I use them. So I want to shout out ICBD. I've been with them for about 6 months now with great CBD products, and my management as well, BA Box Management. So yeah, thank you to all those people.
Fantastic. And shout out to the podcast sponsor, the English Hypnotist. When it comes to the mental side of training, you guys are testament. You've got your own ways of processing it, but it's a very important factor. It's something that can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And I want to work with Richard Hart, the English Hypnotist, who sponsored the podcast, and I paid out my own money for my camp for last time, and it made a world of difference. Processing the emotions, the nerves, all these sort of things. It's a very tailored experience, and I benefit so much from it. I think everyone should at least have a conversation just to see how much they can sort of open up their surroundings. But, thank you guys so much for today, and
Thanks.
look forward to getting
Thank you.
more in the future and get some training as well. But yeah,
Pleasure.
cheers, guys.
Thanks a lot,
Top
man.
man.
Cheers.
Thank you.